Ladies and gentlemen, today is Saturday, October, I believe 30th, or 29th actually, and we're departing from Kinshasa in the People's Democratic Republic of the Congo. We'll be departing on runway 06 this morning, flying pretty much straight outbound on the Gulf Echo 0 Papa 1 Bravo outbound approach pattern. Outbound departure pattern, sorry, not approach pattern. Everything looks fairly clear. Light winds along the way. We're flying into airport designator code is Foxtrot Nancy X-Ray Alpha, and this is Xangongo International Airport in Angola. It's a manual approach, no nav aids. We're landing on runway 03. So we've got two custom nav points along the way, and we're going to fly those nav points on the inbound. So I'm not sure what I'm going to expect today, other than a whole lot of fun. So we'll see what we run into on the way out. So let's set a few things here first. Let's set our outbound altitude. Sometimes I forget to set that. Let's actually get fuel while we're here. I always forget to get that. And we're gonna need a full tank of gas today, that's for sure. Alright, full tank of gas we have. 140 gallons per wing tank. So 280 total. Alright, let's turn that off. Don't need that. Don't need that. We need those on. Turn all our de-ices on. Radar looks clear, some spotty clouds, but nothing too crazy. Okay. And we're showing a tailwind. When I did the flight planning just a few minutes ago, it was showing a headwind. So, gotta love it when weather is not accurate. Tell me a headwind. It should be a headwind, not a tailwind. Sorry. That's just not very realistic. That's on. Let's turn the cabin lights out. Don't need those. Okay, everything looks like we're normal, set and ready. Alright. Keep that on until it tells it turned off. Which should be shortly after we take off. Which should be right now. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, please store all your garbage and beer cans and stuff. We are now departing. We are lifting off, and hang on, it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride getting up. Bye-bye, Kinshasa. Brakes released. Airspeed alive. Approaching minimums. Alright. Let's get out of here. Gear up.
Contact Kinshasa Center on 123.7. Good day.
Going to 123.7 Daher 019er. Kinshasa Center Daher Foxtrot Mike 1019er is at 1,900 feet climbing 11,000 feet.
Daher Foxtrot Mike 1019er Kinshasa Center altimeter 29er.77 continue to Zatso as planned.
I missed all those call-outs. I think I said 11,000 feet. 11,000. Okay. $11,000 is our first approach altitude, so we'll dial that in. Pretty down there, look at that. Headed on up to flight level 11,000. Sorry. We have roughly 3 minutes until our next nav point, Bakab, B-A-K-A-B. You can see it right here on the map, GPS. So making a right turn at Bakab. Wind just died off. Feel it. Well, the vibration of my seat just died down. So let's take a look at where we're going today on the VFR map, or the detailed map. So we're flying south to Bakab, and then we're turning to the right, to the southwest to Gedpo. And Gedpo marks the beginning of our exit of the area, departure of the area. We're flying pretty much straight south. Next nav point's near X, and we fly past that to this is the last beacon, Charlie Echo. So from here, we're just on GPS. There's no more nav aids to get us anywhere, and we're going all the way down right here to this airport, and we're going to come in, then we're going to turn to the east and make one turn to the north, lining us up for approach on the runway. So it should be a
Docker 019er climb and maintain flight level 180.
Climb and maintain flight level 180, Docker 019er.
180, let's dial that in. 180, dialed in. Climbing on up to flight level 180. So we have roughly 8 minutes and 45 seconds until our next nav point, and that marks the long southern track we're going to take pretty much all the way to Angola. What's the name of our airport? It is Xangongo in Angola. So looks like there's a small city to the south and east of the airport. So lots of pretty sand around it. got one heck of a tailwind, 13 nautical miles per hour. It's not hitting us directly in the tail, but it's coming across the tail from left to right. So we're getting a pretty good little boost of speed off of this. Usually our airspeed around this point in the climb would be around 140 knots, and we're almost 20 knots over, so I don't think we're going to get much below 150 on the way up. Feet remains the climb.
Climb and maintain flight level 260, Daher 019er.
I don't know if you saw that. There's a flash lightning down below us. We're on up to our cruise altitude at flight level 260. We should be there in roughly 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Once we arrive at flight level 260, we'll lay off the gas a little bit and see if we can cruise on up to about 350 nautical miles per hour. Knots, as they're called. Minutes remain in the climb. Minutes remaining in the climb. Roughly 1.5 minutes in the climb, remain in about 3 minutes and 40 seconds before our next nav point. This upcoming nav point will make a left turn, and we'll stay on a track of like 180 almost for the entire flight. There's a big straight line. And we'll be pushing further south down the western half of Africa, the African continent. Approaching flight level 260. Turning for GEDP1B. Roughly 47 minutes on this leg. We are roughly 27 minutes in today's flight. Roughly 2 hours and 10 minutes remaining in the flight if we hold true to flight plan. Looks like the headwinds are dying down, which is nice. Take some of that chop away. So, in preparation for our descent down, if we look at our flight plan here, our first nav point is at 5,200 feet. So, I don't think they're going to have us descend all the way down to 5,200 feet at once. They might, but I'm going to dial in our next altitude of 10,000 feet, and that'll be our target. And we can start a descent, and then we can fine-tune it from there if we need to descend further or have a higher altitude to descend to. So just getting that ready in preparation. Our heading bug, we can move that to 210 degrees. So what that represents is go around. So if the runway we're anticipated to land at has an approach heading of 030, we add 180 to that, that's 210. So if we have to go around, we'll go around on 210 degrees and then turn back around to 030, and that'll complete our turn. Looks like we're going to have clouds almost all the way there. I saw them on the map. They looked like they were light. I think they are going to break up. If we look down over here, there's lots of openings to look through, so I think it's going to look like this for most of the flight today. So no nav aids, we're coming in blind. Never landed here before, so I'm not sure what to expect. So, yay.
129.5 Daher 019er. Luanda Center, Daher Foxtrot, Mike 1019er, flight level 260.
Daher Foxtrot Mike 1019er, Luanda Center. Continue to Narax as planned.
Alright. Flying off to our next nav point. So it looks like the airport we're flying to is at an elevation of 3,635 feet. In real life, there's no fuel services here, so that wouldn't be a great place to land. They'd have to, I'm sure they could bring a truck in. It's kind of weird because the runway is really long, 7,400 feet, so it's 1.5 miles by 98 feet wide, so lands some pretty big stuff there. So that's how I was able to pull up on this airport. It's a civil airport, so it's open to the public. It's not owned by any carriers. Okay. And it does list our approaches as VFR, so we will be flying under visual flight regulations. So we should be under 5,000 feet for our initial and final approach. That's part of flying visual flight regulations. You have to have clear view of the ground on your way in. Looks like we got moisture picking up. Let's turn our separators on. I don't think we need them, but just in case, we'll probably get a warning message here in a few seconds pop up. Alright, no warning message. That means there's enough moisture where they should be on. Okay. Alright, good call. And we are cruising at around 300 and roughly 350 nautical miles per hour, so we're yep. So there's the flashing yellow light. Don't need me, don't need me, don't need, but we'll just acknowledge that. Inertial separators just prevent water from entering the engine, so we don't get a engine stall, actually a turbine stall. So it just looks like localized moisture. You see all these dots on the map. And they are showing up on radar. So we've got this little cluster right here. And everything looks like it's below us. So I'll just leave that zoomed out just to avoid getting surprised by anything. We are currently flying due south. 180 is our heading. And it looks like we will be on this heading for pretty much the entire flight. So near X is right here. That's our next nav point. And from near X, we have another long stretch to Charlie Echo. And that's our last nav aid on the way, flying right over that station. And then south of Charlie Echo, we have another long stretch. Looks like about 300 nautical miles until we hit FNXA. And then we're going to head easterly on our initial and final approach, and then we'll swing back to the north. So it's kind of pretty. We're going to fly around this river into the airport and the surrounding area. So we should be around 5,000 feet at the end of this final leg. I'd imagine when we cross the river, we should be descending by this point. We currently have roughly 29 minutes remaining in this leg of the flight. Push the throttles up a little bit, starting to slow down. Look at all those colorful bodies of water down there. That's really pretty. Some of those might be mineralized waters. Pretty. Alright, we are 40 minutes in today's leg so far. Departure, flight. Total flight time. That's what I'm trying to say. 40 minutes. So I think next week I should be able to go from Angola to South Africa. I think that's within 800 nautical miles or so. And the week after that, I'd like to take a smaller aircraft around South Africa and just fly around the area and see things like Victoria Falls and the city from the air. But that'll be really pretty. Really pretty. And then from South Africa, Tanzania is one country I'm definitely going to land at because, like I said in a few videos in the past, more like 10 videos in the past, Tanzanite is one of our favorite gemstones. My wife and I don't have a lot of Tanzanite. We've got a few stones that we've collected along the way over the years. But yeah, we had an opportunity years ago to buy it when it was super cheap. Like, you could buy a 5-10 carat cut stone, polished, faceted, AAA deep blue violet flashes. Oh, something like that would probably be, just for the stone at that time, $500-600. Now that same stone would probably cost you 10 grand minimum. that quality, that size. So, yeah. The tanzanite we have, we don't have anything of that quality. Everything we have is A grade. So they tend to be not heavily as saturated, so not as deep of blue, kind of light blue. And we have some that are kind of almost pink. But nonetheless, that was a good investment for what we do have. We probably own about 50 to 100 carats of tanzanite. So what we paid pennies on the dollar for 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, still roughly still pennies on the dollar. At least we'll get dollars back in today's market, so not a bad investment. Yeah, for every $10 we invested, we get back 100, so can't complain. Had breakfast earlier. It is my breakfast is it's singing to me. It's saying, "Rage, rage, rage against the dying of the light." It does not want to go quietly into that good night, and I'll leave it at that. I think I'll be wrestling with this for the next couple hours. Next couple of hours. We'll see if it does go gently into that good night. That was Dylan Thomas. Current time locally should be roughly 3:30 in the afternoon. I believe local time was 2:45 at departure. It is getting sloppy up here. It is getting bumpy. Bumpy. just a little bumpy. I think this is one of those flights where if we had passengers that rarely flew, they would probably be clutching their vomit bags for dear life at this point. It's kind of funny how that works with people, because if you've never flown or if you've never been on a boat in the ocean and you're not used to these movements, and if people were to ask you, do you get motion sickness? And sometimes people will say the truth, they'll say, I don't know. And sometimes people will act prideful and say, nah, not me. No, I don't get motion sick. And you get them in a plane or on a boat, they turn green and start barfing all over the place. Ugh! Ugh! Vomit to the right of us, vomit to the left of us, vomit everywhere. No. Yeah, that doesn't happen very often, but I've seen it happen when I was younger. I think we were in like the 4th grade, and we went on a field trip to an amusement park, believe it or not, and we couldn't go on the full-on adult rides. We could ride all the kiddie rides, and we rode this little roller coaster, and it really wasn't very much, you know, it was for kids, small kids. And this one kid in my class came off of it, and he just went right to a trash can. Blah! So, yeah. If you've never flown before, or you think you might get sick, please open one of those bags. You're only doing people a favor. It's a lot easier to clean up in a small bag than all over the people to the side of you or in front of you. So, just saying. Just saying. If you can't keep it down, keep it in the bag. Anyways, however, no one knows what's going to happen until they go through the paces. So, usually I don't know is, I think, the safest response. That way you don't have to make excuses for why you just got sick all over someone. My excuse when I was younger was bad pickle. Yeah. I had a sandwich, had a bad pickle. I remember when I was like 16, still living at home with my mom. She was a single parent. And there was one night I went out with a friend of mine, and I got drunk, falling down, stupid drunk, and we had a pint of Bacardi 151, which is 151 proof, roughly 70.5% ethanol alcohol, and yeah, we mixed that with 2 liters of Coca-Cola, and he and I destroyed like half the bottle on the way walking to the party, which at the time I was living in Massachusetts, and this party was like maybe a mile and a half from where I lived. But there were these 2 girls in my class that were, you know, kind of cute, and they told my friend, hey, our friends will be here and you guys should come. And basically they were just using us for a hookup for alcohol. And we brought just that one bottle, and you know, we kind of let anyone who wanted to have a drink when we got there. And it doesn't take much with Bacardi 151. So there was already beer and stuff there. They thought we were going to bring more alcohol than we had, but we didn't. So yeah, before the night was over, I drank the remainder of that, and my friend didn't. And yeah, needless to say, I saw a lot of dinner that night. Some here, some there, some on the way home. and some on my front porch. Anyways, a lot on the front porch actually, and the front door. And we lived in this old, rundown, dumpy mobile home. I mean, there was nothing pretty about this mobile home that I grew up in. And it was like 1974 vintage. So, yeah, stuff today you see in mobile homes, it was a different story, 40 years ago. We had insulation, and it was newspaper, but hey, it wouldn't burn because it was coated with asbestos, so, we're safe. And my mom woke up in the morning, and my friend, he was sleeping on the floor next to my bed. And we only had 2 bedrooms. So anytime a friend came over, we'd just throw blankets down, they'd bring a sleeping bag and crash out on the floor with some pillows. My mom opens the door to get the newspaper, and she goes ballistic. She goes, "There's effing vomit all over!" And she screams my name, and I'm starting to wake up, and I am hungover as can be. And my friend Jay, I look down, he's got his sleeping bag closed over his head, and I can hear him laughing. And my mom, like, slams open the door to my bedroom, and she goes, "Who threw up on the front porch?" And I said, I had a bad pickle last night, and I got sick." And she threw us out of the house. GTFO was her message to us. GTFO. And we did. And we got in my friend Jay's car and we took off. He's laughing the whole time. And he goes, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to get breakfast before my stomach starts feeling pretty awful. I want to get some food." So up north, there's this restaurant chain called Friendly's. So we went to Friendly's and ate some food. It was this typical American kind of food, like clam chowder, grilled cheese sandwiches, steak sandwich, hamburgers, that kind of stuff. And yeah, they had a sense of legitimacy. They also had like, hey, baked chicken and steaks and that kind of stuff. But they were really good with burgers and greasy comfort food kind of stuff. So we filled up on food at Friendly's. Back then, this was like 1980, 85, the end of 85, early 86. And, you could go in there, get a burger and a milkshake, and walk out completely stuffed for like $3.95. So I think the burgers on the menu at the time were $1.99, and a milkshake was like 85 cents, and maybe $1.25 for a small shake. And then we went down to the mall, and this is back when VCRs were the big tech. If you wanted a VCR, you're going to pay $800, $700 for it. They weren't new, but they were still very expensive. So I went to Sears over to the electronics section, and they were playing Indiana Jones. The first Indiana Jones was on VHS. And we sat there and we watched it twice, back to back, before they kicked us out. They said, "You guys need to go." And I'm sure at first they probably felt sorry for us. Look at these 2 stupid kids with a hangover. But 4 hours later, we're probably headed for business, so they asked us to leave. And we went back to my house. My mom, it was like it never happened. She was like, she flipped a switch. She goes, "Hey, I'm glad you guys are back. I made dinner if you guys are hungry." And it was like she never threw us out of the house. So Yep. Anyways, let's not have a repeat of that. The good old days. I think we all have those. Anyways, we are roughly 1 hour in today's flight. We have roughly 10 minutes before our next nav point here, EPAX. So. Once we reach NEPAX, we'll be on the long leg to Charlie Echo, and then from Charlie Echo we have the longest of the legs to the local area of Angola to what's the name of the airport? Xangongo. So we've got probably 450 miles to Xangongo. We're not quite halfway there, but we're almost halfway there. We're between 1/3 and 1/2 of the way there, so definitely making progress. And I think we're going to turn slightly to the right. We'll come on a heading of like 178, nothing too much. We might maintain our southerly track of 180. Looks like we have some clouds forming up down to the south if you look off the nose of the airplane. Out there, got these clouds. And there's definitely some upper level activity. Can't see it because it's on the A-pillar there. But all this stuff is forming up. And that's all clouds that will be above us. We'll probably be flying through the middle of a lot of that, so I don't know if we'll be in the clouds or clouds will be broken around us. I'm not sure what to expect. I saw a cloud cover on the satellite map when I was planning today's flight. It didn't look like it was going to amount to much, and I don't think it's super you know, it's not like rain or anything like that. They're just clouds forming from moisture around the area. But you never know what can be inside. Sometimes nothing, sometimes wind, sometimes rain. We saw lightning earlier when we were leaving the area. So, yeah. The biggest threat to us would be lightning strike. Getting the aircraft actually hit by lightning would be bad. I have all the failure modes turned off. I'm not looking for that degree of challenge, but I wonder if we got hit by lightning and everything was turned off, if it would still just catch on fire and explode, or lose power and crash. I'm not sure what would happen. So let's not find out. Let's pretend like we'll never know the answer to that question. Minutes to knee packs. What happens when we reach it? The world ends. No, just kidding. Just a different leg of our journey. Just a different leg of the journey. Nearax, sorry. Wonder if he's related to Lorax. So once we reach Nearax, from Nearax to Charlie Echo is probably 20 minutes or a half hour. And then from Charlie Echo all the way down here, I'd imagine that to be about 45 minutes or so. So we have roughly still an hour and 15 to an hour and 30 minutes before we hit what would be the beginning of our initial and final approach into the area. So, yeah, I wish the flight map would reflect all these ground stations as easily as this does, because it looks like this airport here may have been a better place to land. They actually have navigation aids at this airport here, whereas here there's really nothing. So, yeah. Maybe not 2 dirt runways and 2 bitmiss runways, and this one here is bitmiss. This is asphalt. So, yeah. I believe bitmiss is compacted rock, so not the smoothest surfaces, but we should be able to land on anything except water, mud. So, let me Google bitmiss. Make sure I'm thinking the same thing. So it's a natural or man-made rock, similar to plastic. So it should be a black surface. The color of coal is what it says, so, okay. So basically a hard packed rock that looks like asphalt. Alright. Looks like we've changed by 1 degree, so pretty much the same heading. looks like, yeah, 30 minutes in this leg of the flight remain. 148 nautical miles on this leg. And it says 4:29 p.m. so 16:29 is listing as our arrival time. So I think that's a little optimistic, but if that's true, that would list our total flight time as only 1 hour 45 minutes, and I don't think that's quite accurate. So I think that will adjust as we push further to the south. Looks like our headwind's starting to die down a little bit. Down to 3 and 4 knots of headwind. Nothing's on radar in terms of moisture, so that's good. That's always good. So let's gain some time. Let's advance the throttles. That should get us a couple knots. Gained a minute, so still holding to that 4:30 arrival. So if that's true, we should be landing around 4:45 p.m. It usually adds on 15 minutes for initial approach. However, today's approach is, even though we're not flying straight in, is technically a straight in approach. So as soon as we're at the final part of our southbound leg. We should have descended down. Probably, I would imagine, the ground would tell us to descend to 3,800 for VFR flight regulations. So everything on the ground is clearly visible to us. It's not going to be, we're not going to be doing this after sunset, so we should be able to see everything on the ground just fine. Just fine. Shaved another minute off the flight plan, so okay. Well, we're pretty much wide open. I'm not going to push it any faster. Let's turn our inertial separators off. That should get us another couple knots. We're above all the moisture for the time being. Yeah, the inertial separators, they sap a little bit of turbine power. So with those off, that should get us maybe another 5 nautical miles an hour of airspeed. see if we cross half the speed of sound here. We're pretty close to it right now. We do have a little bit of a tailwind, so we might get there. Roughly 15 minutes remain in this leg of today's flight. On our way to the last nav beacon, which is Charlie Echo. Once we pass Charlie Echo, we're flying solely on GPS from that point. And once we get close to the airfield, we'll be on visual flight regulations. At that point, there are no nav aids or no ground beacons on today's journey, so it will be an interesting landing. Our last flight, when we flew to DPRC, at least we had our nav, so it'd be nice if we had at least that, but we don't. So that's why we're going to descend on down to under 5,000 feet. For visual flight regulations, we have to have clear view of the ground under 5,000 feet above it. So as long as we can see the ground, we can see the runway, and we'll probably, I'd imagine the ground will have us descend on down probably to around 7,000 feet, because I believe this runway sits above sea level at 3,670 feet roughly. So 3,000 feet above that should be roughly 7,800 feet. So 7,600 feet, something like that. So 7,400 feet. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So I'd imagine on that final turn, it'll keep us around 7,000 to 8,000 feet, and that'll be our altitude inbound to landing. Once we spot the runway, we can start descending on down for landing. I'd imagine that'll be kind of where today's flight plan is going to head. I can see Charlie Echo on the map. It's directly due south of us. Roughly 100 miles south of us. So if we look at the center map, we're on a 200 nautical mile scale, which is edge to edge. So 200 nautical miles from here to here. So from here to here is roughly 100 nautical miles. And if we look here, distance is actually 64, so it's under that. So, yep, the remaining time in the flight is 11 minutes and 25 seconds. And with the increases to throttle, we shaved roughly 4 minutes off our landing time. And we'll continue to save the longer we hold the throttles in the current position. You can see here our power output is roughly 95%. Not the most fuel economic. We're burning fuel like a bandit right now, almost 60 gallons per hour. We look here at GPH is what we're using. So yeah, that's roughly 4 to 5 hours of flight time. So yeah, not 100% accurate, but we won't be super heavy when we land. It's a lot easier to land when we're 1,000 pounds lighter than when we took off. So our fuel tanks are roughly 140 gallons per tank. That's 280 gallons total. 6 pounds per gallon, so that's 1,680 pounds. So if we burn through 60% of our fuel, it's 1,000 pounds that we will shed in weight. And fuel is often referred to as pounds in larger aircraft and military aircraft. And 1 gallon equals 6 pounds of fuel. And it's actual weight. And I think the reason why they plan on pounds is every airframe has a minimum and a maximum weight allowance. So minimum weight would just be full fuel tanks, no munitions. Where full would be full fuel tanks, maybe external fuel tanks, bombs, missiles, all that stuff. So, yeah. When we say we're going to burn 1,000 pounds of fuel, that's the actual weight of the fuel that we're burning off. So, if you want to convert back from pounds to gallons, you just divide by 6. And it's a very simple mathematical calculation, but when I was in the Air Force, we had a crew chief that miscalculated the fuel load for the pilot. They actually divided gallons by 6 instead of multiplying by 6. So the pilot actually had 1/6 of the fuel. The pilot didn't catch it until after they departed and took off. And it resulted in them having to come back for an emergency landing because they didn't have enough fuel to make it where they were going. And yeah, somebody got into a little bit of trouble over that. Whoops. Roughly 1 hour and 28 minutes in today's flight. If all holds true to flight plan and what the computer is telling us for an estimated time of arrival at 4:24 p.m., we have roughly 1 hour and 15 minutes remaining in today's flight. I believe we are past the halfway point on. Let's take a look really quick here. So we departed from FNNG, I believe was our, nope, Foxtrot Charlie Alpha Alpha. So that was up here, I do believe. Right here. And we flew to here. And we're almost to Charlie Echo. And if we go from Charlie Echo to down here, that's the remainder of the flight. So I think Charlie Echo actually might be the halfway point. Or a little bit past the halfway point. Alright, roughly an hour and 15 minutes remain in today's flight to our arrival in Xangongo, Angola. Can't wait. I wonder what kind of food they have there. Let's Google that. Lots of bean, rice, pork, and chicken, vegetables. Huh. They say Portuguese influence in the food. That would be good, I bet. So I'm looking at pictures right now, it looks tasty. Yeah, it looks like they got some good food. I'm just getting hungry. Look at these pictures. I'm gonna stop that. Roughly 1 minute and 30 seconds to Charlie Echo. And I think we're passing over a mountain ridge down below us, which is where this chop is coming from. It's the updraft from the mountains, from the ridge. already. It says 58 minutes on this leg of the flight, and this is the longest leg. So, yeah. So 58 minutes, that's 1 hour from now, and that'll put us in the local area, and then 15 minutes after that, we'll be on the ground. So total flight time today, I think, is going to be closer to 2 hours and 45 minutes, 2 hours and 50 minutes, closer to 3 hours. So just sit back and relax and enjoy the flight. It is starting to get bumpy and choppy. As Arnold Schwarzenegger once said, "Get them to the chopper." I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. Been a fan ever since the 80s when I saw him in Conan the Barbarian. I think that was Conan the Barbarian was like 83, 84 or somewhere in there, maybe even 82, 81. Yeah, we're picking up a lot of choppy air off this mountain range we're flying over. This is probably some of that air that would make you want to grab one of those bags and clutch it close by. Hold me tight, it says. I think we're probably going to have about 15 or 20 minutes of this. I'm looking at the map. So from where we are right now to right about right here is where this mountain range looks like it ends. So things should start to clean up right around here. I'm guessing that's about 20 minutes from here. So, yeah. It's amazing how far up in the atmosphere those updrafts go. Choppy it is, choppy. Alright, I will be back in about 15 minutes, or less, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. 46 minutes into today's flight. Roughly 1 hour remaining. Our navigation computer is calling for the 4:25 p.m. landing. It's roughly 3:30 right now, local time. So that puts us just a little over an hour. Actually, slightly under an hour, 58 minutes. So, okay. We'll take it. Crosswind's picked up. Crosswind's out of the west. Coming across to right to the left of the aircraft. And I think this area is going to be a lot choppier than I thought. Look at the map here. You see these mountains run northwest to south. They run southeast to northwest. And earlier we were here as we picked a chop up, and I thought this was the end of the range. But the end of the mountain range is actually right here. So maybe 10 to 15 more minutes of this chop. And it should smooth out. So for the time being, we'll just keep the pedal to the metal and we'll just push through this stuff. It's Halloween weekend. Everyone be careful out there. Everyone has a safe and happy Halloween weekend. Safe being the key. So right now this is the last mountain range we're passing, and we'll be over this range, so we're right about here. To the left of us, off the left wing over here, is a little valley. So we're going to pick the rising air off of this edge of range. But once it opens up and into this big valley down here where we're not boxed in by mountains. It should smooth out. Compared to the Swiss Alps, this is nothing. So, yeah. Take a peek at the map again. Alright, we're roughly 200, maybe 210 nautical miles from the airfield. So, yeah, we're under an hour. Roughly 45 minutes, I believe, until we're in the area. And we should be out of this valley. We should be out of this mountain range, sorry, and into the valley here in just a few minutes. minutes remain in this leg. So I'd imagine here in about 25 minutes we would begin our initial approach procedures into the area. We'll slow down and descend. Looks like the air ahead is pretty clear, so everything's starting to thin out up ahead. And I would imagine where we're landing today is going to be over in this area. Sorry, this area. So, we'll see. Alright, we're slowing down gradually.
roughly 30 minutes until we begin initial approach. 20 minutes roughly, I think. Alright, looks like clean, clear air up ahead. Hazy, but nice and clear, so imagine this tailwind will start dropping off here in a little bit. Roughly 4 p.m. We're 2 hours and 10 minutes in today's flight, with roughly 30 minutes remaining. 30, 35, 30-ish minutes remain in the flight today. I'm gonna step away and grab a coffee before I get too close and can't step away. Alright, coffee's full. transition this line in the map, I'd expect ground to make contact with us. Give us our approach heading and all that stuff. If there's any restrictions for altitude and airspace, airspeed, they'll convey that information as well. Tailwind's picking up, 18 knots. We are 2 hours and 18 minutes in today's flight. And we passed that line and didn't receive any information from ground, so okay. We are flying to Foxtrot Nancy X-Ray Alpha FNXA. I don't know if there's any weather information. No weather data. We're close, only 86 nautical miles away, so.
Descend and maintain flight level 200, Doher 019er.
descend, we will. Starting to worry there.
Dollar 019er, you are 78 miles north. Descend and maintain 8,000 feet. Expect vectors. Visual runway tree approach. Dollar 019er, descend and maintain 5,700 feet.
Descend and maintain 5,700 feet. Expect vectors. Visual runway. Tree approach. Dahar 019er.
Here we go. Landing lights on. Awaiting vectors for visual. That's a fancy way of saying we're just waiting for the ground to give us directions to put us in the right course so we can see the airport runway. We're currently descending down to 5,700 feet. That'll put us 2,000 feet off the ground. Ground level is roughly 3,006 to 3,700 feet. This chop should thin out the closer we get to the ground. Should. Knock on wood. Roughly 7 more minutes in descent. Under 18,000, resetting barometer to actual. Okay. Looks like local pressure is same as sea level. Looks like the winds are gusting. Roughly 5 minutes remaining in the descent. Four minutes remaining in the descent. Okay, no meteorological or weather information is available at this airport, so we won't worry about it. Roughly 2 minutes and 30 seconds remain on the descent. Down there. Alright, looks like the wind has finally calmed down, thank God. Roughly 30 seconds in descent. approaching flight level 5,700. Throttle up. We are 2 hours and 31 minutes to today's flight. We should be on the ground here in about 15 to 20 minutes. Ground has had us descend down to flight level 5,700. We were cruising at flight level 260, so we descended down 21,000 feet roughly. And we're going to maintain flight level 5,700, or most likely until we are given clearance to land. So we're actually going to pass the airport. We're going to fly south of it. We're going to be southwest of it, and we're going to turn to the east. We're going to make a left turn, and then 2 left turns actually. The second last turn will put us on final. So once we hit the first turn and complete that turn, we'll lower flaps to the first notch. And once we complete the second turn, we won't have much time, just a minute and a half or two to lower gear and flaps to final, stabilize our flight and approach for landing. Thank goodness that wind's died down. That was pretty awful. So we're still a little ways from the airport. Looks off our left wing here. There's a road with looks like some farming. I imagine it's a farming community down there, homes and businesses and everything to support the farmers. All right. Sunset. That might be the airport we see off on the horizon right there. Could very well be. It's too far to tell, but I'm guessing it's in the right position. Or close to what I would assume to be the right position for the airfield to be, so yeah. It's a pretty small airport, but it has a very long runway, 7,000 foot runway, so there's a lot of airframes you can land there. It's kind of narrow, it's only 98 feet wide, not the narrowest, but I think the runways where large aircraft like 747s and 787s take off is more along the lines of 120 feet in width. I think this would be plenty wide enough to land something like a 747 on, maybe just not long enough. But for us it's more than plenty, so we only need about 1,500 feet. So that was not the airfield that we saw out the left window there. The airfield is ahead of us. So anticipation for our first nav point, which would mark our initial approach into the area, or the beginning of our final approach actually into the area. Let's go ahead and lower flaps, get those out. Alright, flight is stable. Seat locked. Put the feet on the rudders. All right. Flight computer says we're going to be on the ground in about 3 minutes. I think it's going to be a little bit longer than that, but maybe 5 to 10. Right here where it says RA, it's radar altimeter, and that's our actual height above the ground, we're 2,247 feet roughly. And that's going to change as we pass over valleys and little hills and stuff. It'll go up and down. But roughly it's telling us we're 2,200 feet above the ground. Here we go. Let's configure for landing. Flaps and gear are both down.
Dollar 019er Airport is at your 10 o'clock 5 miles. Maintain present heading and altitude, report runway in sight.
Maintain present heading and altitude. Daher 019er. Daher 019er has the runway in sight.
She always does, but I never do.
5 miles southwest of Foxtrot November X-ray Alpha. Turn left heading 070.
Turn left heading 070. Daher 019er. Foxtrot November X-ray Alpha, traffic Daher Foxtrot Mike 1019er, 4 miles southwest inbound visual runway tree. Foxtrot November X-ray Alpha, traffic Daher Foxtrot Mike 1019er is on final runway tree to land.
We'll be making our final left turn here in just a second. We're on short final. Okay, we're on really short final. So we're not going to go for it. We're just going to run around the airport. So when I was doing the flight plan, I put this nav marker too close to the runway. So no worries. We'll just do a go around. Not a problem. So let's do that right now. We're going to select heading, and we're going to turn around onto our escape heading of 210. And we're going to fly probably about we'll go about 10 miles out. Once we're right here, we'll switch back to navigation, and it will resume guidance for our final approach into the area. And once we're lined up, we can manually take control at that point. about 5 miles from the airport runway. We'll go about another 5 to 10 miles and we'll turn around. I wonder if all that water is spring-fed. Looks like mineralized water. Very pretty. Runway's about 10 miles behind us. Get a few more miles before we turn around. Okay. Re-engage navigation. Let's line up on the runway. Flight is stable. We're configured. Gear down, flaps down. Alright, autopilot is off. A little bit of a rough landing, but not too shabby. That was a little bit less of a runway than I thought it was going to be. But we are down, and I think that's the ground service station right over to our right. But I'm not sure where we depart the runway, so So this is a bismuth, that hard packed asphalt stuff, and I don't see anywhere to turn off the runway, so I'm guessing that would be behind us. So I'm just going to end the flight right here, and I'm going to say thanks for flying with us today, and I hope you enjoyed the flight.